The man sliced open the enemy's chest with a dagger. He reached in and took out the man's heart. He did it for one reason only: to avenge his adopted daughter. Even when facing more than 30 enemies, he could still handle them with ease. The only reason he managed to kill all 30 of them at once was because of the preparations he had made beforehand. The old man carefully removed the warhead, as if he were holding a snake that could explode at any moment. He didn't hesitate for a second, pouring the gunpowder little by little into the same basin. The gray-white powder drifted through the air, carrying a faint but sharp smell of nitrate, floating under the dim light like it was warning of the death that was about to come. He rubbed a small pinch of gunpowder between his fingers, and only when he saw it was dry and evenly ground did he finally nod. Then he began adjusting the weight of each bullet. Every single round, he weighed it, calibrated it, checked it again and again to make sure every gram of gunpowder landed in the perfect spot. One small mistake, and these homemade devices could explode prematurely, and the first person they'd kill would probably be him. When he was done with the warheads, gunpowder, and casings, he finally assembled the metal pieces into pressure-triggered landmines. Those small, insignificant pieces of iron were now loaded with real killing power. Next, he walked out into the yard. This was the place he had lived for decades, where he planted flowers, raised horses, and once hung up his daughter's childhood drawings to dry. But starting today, this place would become a battlefield. He dug a long and narrow trench and poured in barrels of 98-octane gasoline. The smell of gasoline spread quickly. If anyone stepped over it, one pull on the detonator would turn it into a river of hellfire. He hid the detonation trigger along the path, perfectly placed, perfectly concealed. Then he layered the grass back on top. After that, he took out a double-barreled shotgun. He broke off the stock and shortened the barrel, reshaping it with a grinder to make it ideal for close-range ambushes. He hid the modified shotgun behind a slope that the enemy would have to pass. If they missed it, that weapon would sit there like a sleeping beast, ready to leap from the shadows and tear their throats out. The next second, he started sharpening steel rods. They were old, rusty rebars, but under his hands they turned into razor-sharp spikes glimmering with cold light. He drove them into the ground one by one, building a vicious field of steel stakes. If anyone was forced into it, one step would be enough to make them scream. 2 steps would keep them from ever standing again. He found a rotting plank, hammered corroded nails into it in a crossed formation, making a crude but deadly spike trap. Finally, he picked up the old Rambo knife that had been with him for decades. It was a blade full of memories, scarred by countless battles. With that knife, he carved sharp wooden splinters and turned them into trigger mechanisms. Once a rope was pulled, those spikes would snap forward like the teeth of a wild animal. When every trap was finally set, he adjusted his compound bow to maximum draw. He pulled and released. The arrow shot straight through a thick wooden plank. Then he modified the bow into an automatic firing mode. One squeeze of the trigger, and arrows would rain like a storm. The most terrifying part was this: he also had an anti-tank mine and a full block of C4. Either one alone could blow apart a train. He set these up to completely cut off the enemy's retreat, to make sure once they entered, they would never walk out again. Rambo had never been this certain. This time, he had no intention of coming back alive. From modern weapons to primitive ones, he armed himself to the teeth. To push a 70-year-old man to this point, there was only one reason: Lucy, his adopted daughter, the girl he raised with his own hands. Back home, when Rambo received the news that Lucy had gone missing, it was like lightning cracked through his world. In that instant, the veins on his hand bulged around the phone, and his eyes turned blood red. He didn't hesitate, didn't stop, didn't even finish grabbing all his gear. He jumped into his pickup and sped toward the Mexico border. Sand blew in through the window, but he didn't blink once. His breathing turned heavy and rough, like a beast cornered with no way out. He wasn't going to search, he was going to declare war. When he crossed the border, a few punks tried to block his way, but one look into the eyes of a man who had killed more people than they could imagine made them instantly step aside. When he reached Lucy's father's place, the man showed no worry at all, only impatience, with a tone dripping in mockery and contempt. He said Lucy's disappearance was Rambo's fault, that Rambo shouldn't have saved them 10 years ago, that keeping them alive only caused more trouble. He said if Rambo hadn't interfered back then, he would have taken care of the family long ago, and none of this would be happening. That sentence snapped something in Rambo's mind like a stretched wire breaking clean. He lifted his hand suddenly, his fist turning white, his entire body like a lion ready to explode. The man stumbled backward in fear, pressing against the wall. 10 years ago, this same cowardly, cruel bastard had been beating Lucy's mother. Rambo passed by, beat him half to death, and threw him out of the house. but Lucy's mother still died later from years of abuse and despair. After that, Rambo became a full-time father, raising Lucy into adulthood. But he never imagined the child he protected with his entire life would be dismissed by her own biological father as a burden. The anger swallowed his breath, his cold stare brimming with murderous intent. But in the end, he didn't hit him. He turned and went straight to Lucy's best friend. The girl insisted she knew nothing, saying only that Lucy had gone to a nightclub, but the bracelet on her wrist made Rambo understand everything instantly. It was Lucy's mother's keepsake, something Lucy treasured more than anything. She would never give it away casually. Rambo's eyes changed, like a starving wolf forced down from the mountain, cold and terrifying. He warned Alice in a low voice. If she told one more lie, he would personally send her to God terrified. Alice broke down in tears and finally told the truth. That day, Lucy went to see her father excitedly, but his words stabbed her heart again and again. She didn't even know how she walked out the door, only that she felt hollow inside. She stood outside for a long time, legs too weak to hold her. Her friend noticed immediately and dragged her to a nightclub, telling her to drink, relax, and go home tomorrow. Lucy just wanted to escape the nightmare, so she went along. The moment they arrived, a man named Mike approached her. Lucy didn't know how to reject people, didn't understand danger. She only felt relieved that someone was talking to her and distracting her from the pain. But Mike, pretending to be friendly, looked her up and down and slipped something into her drink when she wasn't looking. After that, Lucy woke up in a dark room, limbs weak, body numb, being dragged around by strange men. They injected her with happy water, forced her to work, and beat her if she resisted. She didn't know the time, didn't know the place, didn't even know if she would ever go home again. When Rambo finished listening, his rage could no longer be contained. He ordered Alice to take him to the nightclub. Inside, he saw Mike. Mike lounged by the bar, acting like nothing had happened. Rambo kept his rage buried, sent Alice away, and watched from the shadows. He knew he couldn't rush. Rushing would ruin everything. When Mike finally walked out, Rambo followed quietly. As Mike loosened his belt, Rambo emerged from the darkness. He stabbed Mike's thigh. The blade sank so deep it nearly disappeared. Then he grabbed Mike's collarbone and snapped it with his bare hands, the crack echoing like thunder in the alley. Mike writhed on the ground, screaming, begging for mercy, promising to take him to Lucy. When they reached the cartel's hideout, the guards had already spotted them. The moment Rambo opened the door, dozens of guns were aimed at him. They pinned the old man to the floor, searching him from head to toe. When the gang boss saw the photo in his wallet, he instantly recognized Lucy as the new girl they had captured. Rambo wanted nothing more than to slaughter them all right there, but he had no choice. Too many guns pointed at his head. They beat him brutally. A 70-year-old body tossed around like scrap cloth. Then the boss carved a deep scar into Rambo's face using Rambo's own knife. Lucy suffered the same humiliation. What no one realized was that the woman watching Rambo in the nightclub had followed them all along. This time, she saved him. When Rambo woke up, 4 days had passed. The woman was a journalist. Her own sister had been killed by the same cartel. She gave Rambo more information. Without a word, he infiltrated another hideout. This time, he pretended to be a customer. The moment he walked in, he grabbed a sledgehammer and slammed it down on the first man's skull. The sound of bones shattering echoed through the narrow hallway. He killed from the first floor to the second, from the staircase to the hidden rooms. Any man, any accomplice, none were spared. Finally, he found Lucy. She was curled up in a corner, trembling at every footstep. Only when she heard that familiar voice did she slowly lift her head. Her face was covered with bruises, her arms full of needle marks. When Rambo picked her up, his tears fell uncontrollably. But in the end, he still lost her. On the way home, Lucy stopped breathing. She died in his arms. At that moment, something inside Rambo was hollowed out forever. After burying Lucy and saying goodbye to the grandmother, he began his final preparations. He turned his home into a battlefield, the tunnels into a maze, the traps into a fortress of death. Then he went back to the cartel's territory, killed their guards, but spared the boss, leaving only a note with his home address. The boss couldn't tolerate that insult. He assembled 39 elite men, 6 SUVs, fully armed, and charged toward Rambo's ranch. But they had no idea. Waiting for them wasn't an old man. It was a beast driven completely insane. Fire traps, compound bow shots, spikes, explosions, steel rods, tripwires, tunnels. One by one, his men fell. Inside the tunnels, Rambo moved like a ghost, cutting them down one after another. When he set off the second-to-last explosive, most of them were already dead. In the end, only the boss was left. He barely crawled out of the collapsing tunnels, only to be pinned to a plank by 4 arrows. Unable to move, Rambo walked toward him step by step, pulling out the knife the man loved so much. He wasn't joking. He was going to cut out this man's heart himself. The blade sliced open his chest, Rambo reached in, blood sprayed, and he tore out the still-beating heart with his bare hand. The boss died with eyes wide open, frozen in terror. Revenge was fulfilled, but what it brought him was eternal loneliness. Rambo sat back on the old chair in front of his home. The wind brushed through his white hair, and he closed his eyes, thinking about his entire life. Killing, war, loss, pain, loneliness. He became the tough hero men dream of being and carried the weight no ordinary person could ever bear. His legend came to an end beneath the setting sun.